My husband asked me to bring his work documents to the hotel where he was supposedly in a business meeting, and I am a forensic accountant. What I found in those files destroyed him completely. My name is Valeria. I am 34 years old. I have 2 kids, a mortgage, and 12 years of marriage to the man I believed was my life partner. I also hold a degree in forensic accounting with a specialization in corporate fraud. My job is auditing companies. My job is finding what people hide inside numbers. Rodrigo never knew exactly what I did all day. We met in college. He studied business administration. I studied accounting. He was charismatic, ambitious, the kind of person who fills a room just by walking into it. We got married at 26. We had Sophia and Mateo. We built a life together. 3 years ago, Rodrigo launched his own consulting firm. He started traveling more. Meetings in Monterrey, clients in Guadalajara, conferences in Mexico City. I supported him. I'm his wife, not his warden, I kept telling myself. The signs were there. I saw them. I chose to ignore them because I was afraid of what they meant. The unfamiliar scent of perfume on his clothes when he came home. The notifications he silenced before I could glance at the screen. The new habit of charging his phone in the home office instead of on his nightstand. The way he stopped asking how my day had gone. But the biggest sign was financial, and I should have caught it before anyone else. Our joint savings had dropped by nearly 40% over 18 months. Rodrigo said it was investment in the firm. I believed him. I signed whatever he put in front of me. I trusted him. The Tuesday that changed everything started like any other. Rodrigo called at 2 in the afternoon. He was at the Hotel Real, 40 minutes from home, stuck in a meeting with investors that ran long. He needed me to bring his laptop and a blue folder sitting in the top drawer of his desk. I said yes. I went looking for the folder. I found it, and with no intention whatsoever of opening it, I dropped it. The documents scattered across the floor. I saw numbers, and when I see numbers, I cannot stop reading them. What I was holding was a financial statement for a company I had never heard of, Consultora RV and Asociados, S.A. de CV. RV, Rodrigo Vargas. And something else. Another name on the incorporation documents. Andrea Leal, co-founder, 40% equity stake. I looked up Andrea Leal in 30 seconds. 30 seconds was all it took to find her LinkedIn, her Instagram, her face. A 29-year-old woman, smiling. With a recent photo at a restaurant Rodrigo had told me he wanted to take me to when things slowed down a bit. I sat down on the floor of his office. Papers surrounding me. I got to work. I have financial analysis software on my personal computer. It is not illegal. It is my profession. In 2 hours, I built the complete picture. Rodrigo had been transferring money from our joint account into the new firm for 22 months. Small amounts, irregular, deliberately designed to avoid triggering bank alerts. The classic profile of someone who knows they're being watched or who has learned how not to be seen. The problem for him is that I am not an ordinary spouse. I am the person companies hire to find exactly that. I traced transfers totaling the equivalent of 400,000 pesos, money that belonged to both of us. Without my consent, without my signature on the corporate documents for that firm, where I legally should have appeared given the marital property regime governing our marriage. I did not go to the hotel. I called my attorney. What followed was 6 weeks of quiet, meticulous work. My attorney, who specializes in family and asset law, reviewed everything. We filed a formal complaint for misappropriation of marital assets. We froze the joint accounts. I initiated divorce proceedings with a full asset audit. Rodrigo knew nothing. He kept traveling. He kept sending messages that read, "Almost done, I miss you." I responded normally, not out of dishonesty, but because my attorney asked me not to alter his behavior while the legal case was being built. It is the hardest thing I have ever done, acting normal while your world is falling apart and you yourself are the one documenting it. The confrontation was not dramatic. There was no screaming. It was a Wednesday morning. The kids were at school. Rodrigo came home from one of his trips. He found my attorney sitting in the living room with a folder on the table. I told him what I had found. I showed him the documents. I gave him the exact amounts, the exact dates, the exact transactions. I watched the color drain from his face. He tried to say it was a misunderstanding, that he would explain everything. That Andrea was just a business partner. My attorney handed him the divorce papers and the notice of the asset complaint. Rodrigo said nothing more. The process took 11 months. The judge ruled that the transfers constituted misappropriation of marital assets. Rodrigo was required to return the equivalent of what had been taken, plus the corresponding legal interest. The house remained with me and the children. Custody is shared, as it should be, because regardless of what he did to me, he is still the father of my children. It was not a movie ending. There were nights I cried. There were very difficult conversations with Sophia and Mateo. There were moments when I wanted to forget the whole thing and just move on. But today, 1 year later, I sleep in my house in my bed, with my finances in order and my head held high. What I learned from all of this is not that men are bad, or that marriage is a trap. What I learned is that you should never disconnect yourself from your own financial life, even when you completely trust your partner. I was signing documents without reading them. I stopped checking our accounts because he handled that. That is not trust. That is abdication. Know your numbers. Always. No matter who else is managing them. Have you ever ignored a warning sign in your relationship or your finances that later turn out to matter? Tell me in the comments. There is room here for every story. If this one hit close to home, give a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more real stories told without a filter.